The highway stretched out before me, an endless ribbon of asphalt cutting through the heart of Texas. The sun was setting, painting the sky in a breathtaking array of oranges and purples. It was the kind of view that usually filled me with a sense of peace and freedom, but tonight something felt off. My name's Sarah, and I've been driving trucks for the better part of 5 years now. It wasn't the career I'd imagined for myself growing up, but life has a funny way of taking unexpected turns. I glanced at the two sturdy crates secured in the passenger seat, my hand instinctively reaching out to touch the cold metal bars. "Easy, boys," I murmured. Inside those crates were Thor and Shadow, my Belgian Malinois. More than just dogs, they were my partners, my family. 6 years in the Army as a canine handler had changed me in ways I never expected. It showed me the depths of loyalty a dog could offer, the unwavering courage they possessed. After leaving the service, I needed a change. A way to see the country while still providing for myself and the two furry shadows who had become my world. Trucking seemed like the answer. As I drove, my mind wandered back to my time in the military. I remembered the scorching heat of Afghanistan, the weight of my gear, and the constant vigilance required to stay alive. Thor and Shadow had been there through it all, alert and ready, their keen senses often detecting danger before any human could. There was one mission in particular that I could never forget. We were patrolling a small village searching for hidden explosives. The air was thick with tension, every step potentially our last. Suddenly, Thor froze, his ears perked forward. Before I could react, he lunged forward, knocking me to the ground. Seconds later, a hidden sniper opened fire, the bullets whizzing over our heads. Thor's quick action had saved my life. That day cemented our bond. These weren't just working dogs. They were heroes, my protectors. When my tour ended, there was never any question about what would happen to Thor and Shadow. They were coming home with me. Transitioning to civilian life wasn't easy. The nightmares, the hypervigilance, the struggle to connect with people who couldn't understand what I'd been through, it all took its toll. But Thor and Shadow were my constants, always there with a nuzzle or a playful bark when the memories became too much. Trucking offered a solution. It was a job where I could be on my own, see the country, and keep my dogs with me. It wasn't always easy, but we made it work. The cab of my truck became our home and the open road our backyard. As the miles rolled by, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had been growing since I crossed the state line. Maybe it was just the isolation, the vast emptiness of West Texas playing tricks on my mind, or maybe it was something more. I had learned to trust my instincts in the Army, and right now they were screaming that something wasn't right. I found myself checking my mirrors more often, scanning the horizon for any signs of trouble. The CB radio crackled to life, breaking the silence. "Breaker 19, this is Lone Star. Any good buddies out there got eyes on a group of bikers heading west on I-20? Over." I frowned, reaching for the mic. "This is Road Warrior, no visual on bikers, but I'm about 20 miles east of Midland. What's the situation? Over." There was a pause before Lone Star's voice came back, tinged with concern. "Word is they've been harassing solo drivers, especially women. Just wanted to give folks a heads up. Stay safe out there." Over. 10-4 Lone Star. Appreciate the warning. Over and out. I replaced the mic, my unease growing. Thor let out a low whine from his crate, sensing my tension. I reached over to scratch his ears through the bars. "It's okay, boy. We'll be all right." As if on cue, a group of headlights appeared in my rearview mirror, rapidly approaching. My heart rate picked up as I recognized the distinctive pattern of motorcycle lights. "Looks like we might have some company, boys," I muttered, glancing at the crates. Thor and Shadow were both alert now, their ears pricked forward, bodies tense. The bikers drew closer, their engines roaring as they surrounded my truck. There were at least 6 of them, their leather jackets adorned with patches I couldn't quite make out in the fading light, and one of them pulled up alongside my cab, gesturing for me to pull over. I gritted my teeth, weighing my options. Stopping out here, alone with a group of unknown bikers, went against every instinct I had. But I also knew the dangers of trying to outrun them in a fully loaded semi. Up ahead, I spotted the lights of a truck stop. It wasn't ideal, but it was better than being cornered on the side of the highway. I flicked on my turn signal, guiding the massive rig towards the exit. The truck stop was brightly lit, a beacon of civilization in the growing darkness. I pulled into a spot near the front, where there were a few other trucks and a clear view of the store. The bikers followed, their motorcycles forming a loose semicircle around my truck. Taking a deep breath, I reached for the door handle. "All right, boys," I said to Thor and Shadow. "Stay alert." As I climbed down from the cab, the cool night air hit me, carrying with it the scent of diesel and fried food. The bikers were dismounting, their boots crunching on the gravel as they approached. Their leader, a tall man with a graying beard and arms covered in tattoos, stepped forward. "Well, well," he drawled, his eyes roaming over me in a way that made my skin crawl. "What do we have here? A little lady all alone on the big bad highway?" I stood my ground, years of military training kicking in. "I'm not alone," I said firmly, my hand resting on the truck door, "and I'm not interested in any trouble." The biker laughed, a harsh sound that set my nerves on edge. "Trouble, sweetheart? We're just being friendly. Why don't you let us buy you a drink? Maybe keep you company for a while." His buddies chuckled, spreading out to flank me. I could feel the situation spiraling, the tension ratcheting up with each passing second. "I said I'm not interested," I repeated, my voice hard. "Now back off before this gets ugly." The leader's amusement faded, replaced by a dangerous glint in his eye. "Oh, I think it's already getting ugly," he growled, taking a step closer. "You see, we don't like being told no." That was it. I'd given them their chance. Without taking my eyes off the bikers, I reached behind me and unlatched the crates. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Thor and Shadow exploded out of the truck, landing on the gravel with military precision. They took up positions on either side of me, their hackles raised, teeth bared in silent snarls. The bikers stumbled back, their bravado evaporating in an instant. These weren't ordinary dogs, and they knew it. Thor and Shadow were the product of years of intensive training. Their bodies honed weapons, their minds razor-sharp and focused on one thing: protecting me. "What the hell?" one of the bikers yelped, nearly tripping over his own feet in his haste to back away. I allowed myself a small, grim smile. "Gentlemen, meet Thor and Shadow. They're Belgian Malinois, ex-military working dogs. They've been trained to take down armed insurgents, sniff out explosives, and protect their handler at all costs." I paused, letting that sink in. "Now, I'll say this one more time. Back off!" The leader of the gang was visibly shaken, his eyes darting between the dogs and me. "Hey, now," he said, his voice noticeably higher. "We were just joking around. No need to get all serious." "Oh, I'm very serious," I replied, my tone icy. "You see, these boys here? They don't take kindly to threats, and right now they see all of you as threats." As if to emphasize my point, Thor let out a deep, menacing growl. The sound seemed to vibrate through the air, promising violence if they took one step closer. The bikers exchanged nervous glances, their earlier confidence completely gone. They began to edge back towards their motorcycles, hands raised in surrender. Okay, the leader said, trying to salvage some dignity. "We're leaving, no hard feelings, right?" I didn't respond, just watched as they scrambled onto their bikes. Within moments, they were roaring out of the parking lot, their taillights quickly disappearing into the night. Only when I was sure they were gone did I relax, kneeling down to ruffle Thor and Shadow's fur. "Good boys," I murmured, my voice thick with emotion. "You did so good." As the adrenaline faded, I became aware of movement around me. Other truckers had come out to see what the commotion was about. An older man approached, his weathered face creased with concern. "You all right, miss?" he asked, eyeing Thor and Shadow warily. I nodded, standing up. "I'm fine, thanks. Just had a little misunderstanding with those bikers." He let out a low whistle. "Misunderstanding, my foot? Those boys have been causing trouble up and down this stretch for weeks now. Looks like you gave them something to think about, though." I smiled, patting Thor's head. "Well, I had some help." The older trucker chuckled. "I'd say so. Name's Bill, by the way. Why don't you come inside, have a cup of coffee? Looks like you could use it." I hesitated, glancing at my dogs. Bill seemed to understand. "They can come too," he said. "After what they just did, I don't think anyone's going to object." Grateful for the kindness, I followed Bill into the truck stop's diner, Thor and Shadow padding silently at my heels. As we settled into a booth, other truckers stopped by, offering words of support or just curious looks at my unusual companions. Over steaming mugs of coffee, Bill and I talked. He'd been driving for over 30 years and had seen it all. "But I've never seen anything quite like that," he admitted, nodding towards Thor and Shadow, who were lying alertly at my feet. "Where'd you learn to handle dogs like that?" So I told him about my time in the Army, about the bond I'd formed with Thor and Shadow, about the transition to civilian life and how trucking had given us a new purpose. Bill listened intently, nodding and understanding. "You know," he said when I'd finished, "there's a group of us, Ex-military truckers. We look out for each other on the road, share information, that kind of thing. Sounds like you'd fit right in. I felt a warmth in my chest that had nothing to do with the coffee. It had been a long time since I'd felt like I belonged somewhere, outside of my small family unit with Thor and Shadow. I'd like that, I said softly. As the night wore on, more truckers joined us. Word had spread about what happened with the bikers, and everyone wanted to hear the story firsthand. Thor and Shadow basked in the attention, accepting gentle pats and admiring comments with dignified grace. For the first time in a long while, I felt truly at ease. These people understood the life I'd chosen, the challenges and the joys of the open road, and they accepted Thor and Shadow not as a novelty or a threat, but as valued members of our unconventional family. As the first light of dawn began to creep over the horizon, I said my goodbyes and headed back to my truck. Bill and a few others walked me out, a gesture of solidarity that touched me deeply. "You take care out there, Sarah," Bill said, shaking my hand. "And remember, you're not alone anymore. You've got friends now all across this country." Climbing back into my truck, I felt a sense of renewed purpose. The road ahead was long, and I knew there would be more challenges to face. But with Thor and Shadow by my side, and a newfound network of friends to call on, I was ready for whatever came our way. As we pulled out of the truck stop, the rising sun painting the sky in brilliant hues, I couldn't help but smile. This wasn't the life I'd imagined for myself, but it was a good life. A life of freedom, of adventure, and of unwavering loyalty. Thor let out a contented sigh from his crate, and Shadow's tail thumped against the side of his. They were ready for another day, another mile, another adventure. And so was I. The open road beckoned, and we answered its call, three road warriors bound by love, trust, and the unbreakable bond forged in the crucible of shared experiences. Whatever lay ahead, we would face it together. Because that's what family does.